I just wanna touch a onion. She just want a couple hundred. I got mad and changed the subject. Then I got drunk and said fuck it. This is for my hustling niggas. This is for my hustling bitches. Pull up with that Aquafina. Yellow bone, her name is Tina. Tina like the hit casinos. Tina could snort a whole kilo. Tina like to fight and argue. Bye bye Tina, bitch, who are you? Met a dark skin chick named Anna. Anna like that marijuana. Anna was from the Bahamas. At least that's what she said. I assume she's honest. I apologize, Your Honor. I just wanted me some money. You can't tell these niggas frontin'. You can't tell these niggas nothing. 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 All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. This is for my hustling niggas. This is for my hustling niggas. This is for my hustling bitches. This is for my hustling bitches. Nigga, don't act so suspicious. Hustle hot as hell, but you swear they snitching. You don't wanna go to prison. You don't wanna go to prison. You don't wanna come up missing. You don't wanna come up missing. I just want a couple bitches. Put them in the ring, make a split decision. I'm trying to slow down with the sinning. I pray to God, no, you forgive me. Me and God had a discussion. He said, tell him. I said, you can't. You can't tell these niggas nothing. 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 All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. All that seems to be on my mind is hustling.
What's good? What's good? What's good, everybody? What's good? Back for another one. What's good? It's your boy, Cardinal Red. And once again, we're back for some more of that boxing talk, y'all. All right, y'all. Y'all know the deal. All right, we up and rolling. We up and rolling. Ryan, what's good, bro? You always in the building, man. I appreciate you. You might as well be a part of the show now, man. Might as well start making some videos and sending them to me. Go on, get your shine, bro. But okay, so I wanted to talk about today some news going around with Terence Crawford, Terence Bud Crawford and Bob Arum, the lawsuit. And it's finally come out, you know, how much has Terence Crawford made during his time with Bob Arum? You know, they're releasing his earnings. And they're saying that they lost money on every single fight. Not one of his fights actually turned a profit, according to what they're releasing. And to be honest, I'm not surprised. I think that this is should be a lesson learned to Terence Crawford. I told you this lawsuit could bring up a whole bag of stuff that he don't want to really have out there in the public eye, and he's stirring up a pot of mess that he really didn't even have to deal with. He could just he wasn't signed to Bob Arum anymore. He should have just let it go. Go find your new promotional company or start your own promotional company and live on, you know. But now they're bringing out the news about Terence Crawford, how much he makes. There's an article I want to reference to get started with. Let me find this article real fast. Ryan Lamb says, Bud is a good fighter, just got no charisma. You know what? Hold on. Let me find this. Let me get rid of that. All right, here we go. All right, so you know what? It's not that he doesn't have the charisma. It's the promotional company he was with. You know, it's not Bob Arum's fault, but Bob Arum, it's Top Rank is a different type of promotional company. Top Rank, they go and get good fighters, and usually the fighter's skill sets are what sell the fighter. Now he's still going off the old model of boxing where you build a fighter up and then they sell well on pay per view, and he's putting that model up against what PBC is doing of where they're taking in-house fights. They're getting the best fighters, signing them, getting black fighters, the best black fighters, signing them. They built up a huge African American audience, and they put it on free TV. So they basically gave it away and built up their fan base. And Bob Arum is still like, hey, I'm doing these pay per views. He is giving away stuff on ESPN, but the difference is you have to actually purchase cable to get ESPN, or you can stream it now, or you can get it the other way. So and that's killing boxing, because Bob Arum's motto is, I build a fighter on what he was doing at first on who was he with? Was he with HBO? He built his fighters up on HBO, and then he'll launch them prime time on pay per view. And then when HBO got rid of boxing, they really hurt Bob Arum. They really hurt Bob Arum. And then when PBC came into play, it kind of killed Bob Arum's the way he does boxing. It kind of really killed that. And Terence Crawford kind of got caught in the middle. He came in right at the end of the wave, and he still was able to get big paychecks. It's just his fights weren't selling on. They weren't selling on pay per view. He's not building up the viewership, and it's not because he's not a good fighter. It's because the viewers moved away from where Top Rank was putting their fights on it. If you can watch a free fight on broadcast TV, or have to pay for cable to watch a Top Rank fight, which one you think you're gonna do? You're gonna watch the free fight. Plus, it was his fighters were more top. PBC fighters are they're more of the fighters of today. They're who everybody's watching. I can't really name you one good Top Rank welterweight at this point. I think Terence Crawford was it. He was pretty much it. So I can't really name you one good top ranked welterweight other than Terence Crawford. So their whole way of doing business was out. It was going out the door, and Terence Crawford, I think, just got caught up in the whirlwind, man. And let's go ahead and go into this article. All right, the article is Terence Crawford earnings reveal top ranked loss. Crawford is seeking at least 5.4 million in damages from earnings he lost in the lawsuit. He wants further cash up to and beyond $10 million, which is crazy. Accusing Arum of racial bias towards Mexican and white boxers in his stable, Crawford is not what Crawford is not being able to nail down Errol Spence Jr. Now listening to offers from alternative employment. Bud says he wants what he's owed, despite revealing his company cleared no money from Crawford in years. Speaking to talkSPORT in December, said Terence Crawford is one of the best fighters in the world. Today, he's tremendously skilled. Unfortunately, he isn't a fighter that is a draw on pay-per-view for whatever reason. And you know what? Arum knows the reason why. His whole way of doing business in the boxing realm is no more. You can't build a fighter on a platform where you have to purchase that platform. It's just not working no more. And PBC, they took the right model, but PBC has taken a hit as well when it comes to pay per view sales. Their pay per view sales are not through the roof. and that's because that they giving away all these great fights. You could watch Thurman fight on free TV. You got to watch Broner fight on free TV. Danny Gardner, a bunch of fights you got to watch on free TV. And then when they tried to sell you those fights, nobody's purchasing them because they're used to the free model, and there are other platforms giving away fights cheaper. I'm surprised Bob Arum hasn't built. He's got with ESPN, they have their own platform, but I'm surprised he hasn't went into the platform game yet, or even, it's one of these promotional companies. And I said this the other day. Some of these boxers need to get smart and take the Logan Paul approach of jumping on YouTube and starting their own channel to generate more revenue around themselves. But I'm surprised none of these promotional companies have jumped on YouTube. Now they're on here as far as showcasing fights and trying to get you to view fight news and watch endless hours of fights that didn't happen, but they're not on YouTube like showcasing boxers, like Top Rank Josh Taylor channel, Top Rank Terence Crawford channel, where you can follow everything that guy's doing in his career. And I'm telling you, that model would blow up, and it would be instant success, and they would make a lot of money off that model. And maybe I need to start pitching some of this stuff to some some of these companies. But I'm such a small channel, they would never listen to me. Now, if you took a Fannin or a ES News, what ES News is kind of like what I'm talking about. He goes to Wildcard Gym and features boxers on a daily basis. He goes to other gyms that's in California and features boxers on a daily basis. So what if an actual promotional company took their own cameras and went into to the gyms or where their boxers are training and showcased their whole entire training camp? Now you would have to leave out some parts, as far as sparring and stuff like that. But wouldn't you like to know what your favorite fighter's nutritional plan is? Or wouldn't you like to know how they lift weights, or, how many miles they run in a day, what they do in their personal life, what they eat when they're on their diet, stuff like that, and eventually I think one of these companies are going to get smart. And Bob Arum, he's definitely in need of a new gimmick to sell his product, and he's lost his best welterweight. So somebody's going to jump on it eventually. They're going to get smart, and they're going to see that YouTube is a big player in media, and that doing a day in your life, or vlogging your life for an athlete can make big time money for them. And that they should start fighters should start signing promotional social media contracts as well as their boxing contracts. Like, man, you gotta showcase me for so many hours on YouTube and on these other platforms. That way we get free promote. This is all free promotion. Just imagine that. It's just endless amounts of free promotion. And I don't think that Top Rank and Terence Crawford didn't take advantage of that. Terence Crawford himself, Errol Spence took advantage of that. He's on social media a lot. He showcases his life. He's out and about at clubs, and running around all over the city. Terence Crawford's more of a family guy. He's at home. But I'm pretty sure if he had a camera with him all the time, people would love to see how he interacts with his family, what he does, where he goes to eat, how he trains, how he stays so focused. What makes him not want to be in the limelight? All this stuff is interesting stuff, and it's all vloggable. I'm just surprised nobody's jumped on it at this point. So the article continues. So we put him in the best fights that we can, that that we can. Unfortunately, we've lost money on every fight. Crawford keeps insisting. I understand his point of view. I'm the best. I should get paid like the best. So if someone is willing to come and put up with the money Crawford is demanding, he should do a fight with another promoter. If he's going to make more money, we're really at that limit of what we can pay him. Maybe somebody we'll pay him more and we'll be able to make a profit. Obviously, it's a business, and so be it, added the Hall of Famer. And you know what? I can't blame Bob Arum. This man was making like $4 or $5 million a fight. There are not too many other fighters out there getting 4 or 5 million guaranteed per fight. And I can't name you. I know Javante Davis gets $1 million guaranteed. I don't know how much exactly Errol Spence gets guaranteed for every fight. But I mean, you were making a really high dollar amount for your fights, and now he's pretty much cleared the way. You know what's going to be interesting is if Bob Arum doesn't resign or Terence Crawford doesn't resign with Bob Arum, that means Bob Arum and Top Rank now have 4.5 or $5 million to play around with and go sign new fighters. And there's some very interesting names out there that are worth, 2.5 million per fight, i.e. Boots Ennis, i.e. Virgil Ortiz. Maybe try to lure a Charlo over to Top Rank because you got $5 or $6 million freed up now since you don't have no guarantee that you have to pay Terence Crawford anymore. So, I think Bob Arum is making the best move for Bob Arum at this point. It's not racial based. It's more based off, hey, I'm wasting a lot of money that I could be investing in younger fighters who might actually be more sellable than you are. And if you're not willing to promote yourself, then why why am I investing $5 million in you? Because let's be honest, you do need the machine, but the machine can only get you so far without talent. Kanye West was a talented guy and was already around Rockefeller before Damon Dash put that key in his back and turned him into something great. And then even though Damon Dash and Rockefeller made him something great, it took for him to turn on his creative minds and made himself into a billionaire after that. So it wasn't even Rockefeller and Damon Dash that made him the billionaire. They should have, because they had all the talent and everything that he had to offer at the time. But it took for him to get past, even the machine and have to start promoting himself and coming up with his own way of branding himself that made him into a billionaire. So Terence Crawford's at that level to where he don't really need the machine at this point. It's how you're gonna market yourself throughout the future. Uh, Throughout the future is what's gonna dictate how much money you're gonna make from now on. Because you could go to the moon and turn yourself into a Mayweather, or you could be a flop and be a Brandon Rios of the world in a couple of years if you're not careful and make the right decision over the next couple of months. So let's move on. Where was that? Okay, so furthermore, it's not yet clear whether Arum intended to countersue for those losses, which would be interesting. Like I said, there's ways Bob Arum can approach this if Terence Crawford doesn't want to eventually just let this go to where he can countersue and say, hey, well, I paid you handsomely and I lost money the whole time. So I'm going to countersue you for, he's not going to get much. He'll get probably his court costs and stuff, but I countersue you for wasting my time, and he can get time wasted. I forgot what they call it, but you're wasting the court and his time, and he's losing money every day that you're wasting his time. So this could end up bad for Terence Crawford. He could end up owing Bob Arum money after all this is said. He should have just let it go. You wasn't signed with Arum no more. He let you go free and clear. He paid you well. You got plenty of money. Why are you doing this to yourself? So, I mean, and it should also say a lot about Bob Arum. And this is why this is going to get messy, because if he was really as vindictive and racist as Terence Crawford is trying to make it seem like he is, why isn't he countersuing him already? Because he said up until this point, Arum, furthermore, it's not yet clear whether Arum intends to countersue for his losses. So he hasn't even countersued. He has a case to countersue you, but he hasn't even countersued you yet. So For all those people saying that he's a vindictive and racist, he could just countersue Crawford and really drag this thing out. So I think he's just trying to make it go away. He's going to show the proof of what his side, and then he's going to show and disprove Terence Crawford's side. And I think eventually Crawford's going to just let it go. You know, like I said, for Terence Crawford, I think it was a free promotion type of thing, and it's just to take some eyes and some questions off of him until he figures out what he's going to do. But you know, I'm not a big channel. The few people that heard me hear me. However, as Crawford detailed his claim for for a payoff as he heads to pastures new the two-weight world champs earnings for his last 5 bouts are aired in the suit. Top Rank owes Crawford no less than $4.5 million for its breach of 2018's agreement by failing to provide Crawford with a second fight during the second year of the 2018 agreement, the suit said, as WBN's Dana Raphael explained recently. The additional $900,000 comes from what Crawford claimed were from a bonus provision in the contract to fight. Wow, what a name! I can't pronounce this guy's name. I'm not even going to try. In which Top Rank promised to pay Crawford a bonus of $900,000 on or before December 30th, 2020. That's if Spence was physically able to compete in professional boxing and Top Rank was unable to offer Crawford the opportunity to fight Spence. Now, interesting. So this is 2020 when Spence was, well, I guess when he's saying he was supposed to be offered that Spence fight. So when did the accident actually happen, and was he physically able to actually even make the fight? You know, so if he wasn't even physically able to make the fight because of the accident, he doesn't really have a claim. Crawford's earnings are tidy regarding reading for the pound for pound star for the Sean Porter pay-per-view in November. Crawford made $6 million plus $50,000 in training expenses. He dropped 3.5 million for his fight with England's Kell Brook in 2020. Before that, Crawford earned $4 million against Mean Machine in December 2019. Added 4.8 from the Amir Khan battle in New York earlier that year, same year, and finally 3.5 million for the 5th event of the agreement versus Jose Benavidez Jr. Overall, Crawford banked 21.8 million with Arum from October 2018. $21.8 million in less than 5 years. I mean, how much more money do you want to make? You making more than most rappers. You're making more than most basketball players. You're making more, and you're not even selling pay-per-views. You know, and these basketball players got to be on the road. You know, 8-9 months of the year. You know, 6-7 months of the year, or something like that. You know, football players got to be on the road 4 or 5 months out of the year. Baseball players like 8-9 months out of the year they're on the road. So how much more money could you be demanding? You made $21.8 million in 5 years, in less than 5 years. So you know what? I just think it's weird that Terence Crawford has even opened this door. I think it's weird and strange. I mean, even if he spent half of that 28, which means he should still have somewhere around 15 million in the bank. I mean, he could take 5 million of that and start promoting his own fights very easily. It don't cost $1 million to get a venue. It don't cost $1 million to promote a fight. So if you got $5 million to play with, it's time to just go ahead and start TC Promotions, Terence Crawford Promotions, or whatever acronym he wants to use. But he's at that point to where he shouldn't even care about Bob Arum at this point. Bob Arum's paid you uh, 20 something $1 million up until this point. And that's well over what fighters are really worth nowadays. So I mean, he's at the top of the mountain when it comes to money. In the top 10 would probably be Canelo, Triple G, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford, Vasil Lomachenko, uh, uh, um, Josh Taylor at this point, and who's the other one? There's one more. I'm missing somebody. There's one more name that really sells, but I can't. Oh yeah, Uzaki. And Uzaki, that would be a top 10 of highest selling fighters. So he's in that top 10. And all those other guys they're more popular than him because they put on the fights that everybody wants to see. All those other guys, and this is just me personally. I feel like all those other guys have been through the wars, through the battles, and they state they claim and they've earned their pay-per-view and their purse bids. Terence Crawford was basically propped up by Bob Arum in Top Rank. He got given a title, and I'm gonna keep repeating this. Bob Arum screwed Pacquiao out of the title in the Jeff Horn fight. Then he fed Jeff Horn to Terence Crawford, and Terence Crawford became champion off of Jeff Horn. Off of Jeff Horn. It's not like he beat a top fighter of the day to become champion. There were other top fighters. Keith Thurman was out there. Well, yes, he didn't have a belt, but it wasn't like he beat a Keith Thurman of the world to become champion. It wasn't like he beat a Adrian Broner or a Danny Garcia or somebody as a champion to become champion. He beat Jeff Horn. Nobody could say that Jeff Horn is an elite fighter ever. Jeff Horn got given a gift in Australia. And and Bob Arum ran with that opportunity because he knew Pacquiao was on his way out. So that's my biggest problem with Terence Crawford, and the reason I don't rank him as high or give him one ups over Errol Spence is because of the way he became champion. And not only that, he did. It's not like he gave Jeff Horn a rematch against Terence Crawford. He took the belt from Jeff Horn, and Jeff Horn never got a rematch. Why did nobody ever bring that up? Why didn't he if Jeff Horn was that talented and he beat Manny Pacquiao, he's the guy who beat the crap out of Manny Pacquiao, why didn't he match them up twice? Because he had both fighters. He could have just matched them up twice. Why didn't Horn get it? It's because he already knew, I got the belt, I got what I needed, and now I can get rid of Horn. Terence Crawford's the bigger star. Why would I match him up? Nobody wants to watch. Nobody cared that he fought Jeff Horn. The hand history vault. What was Crawford's total earnings? $21.8 million in less than 5 years, from 2018 to 2022, and which is 4 years. Less than 5 years, he made almost $22 million. I don't understand your complaint. You only had like 5 fights during that time. Let me see. He had like 4 or 5 fights during that time. He had one, Jose Benavidez, Mean Machine, Amir Khan, Kell Brook, and Sharon Porter. 5 fights, and you made $22 million. So I don't see the complaint of where Bob Arum screwed you out of some money. He actually overpaid you for a bunch of them fights. The Khan fight wasn't worth nothing. He was already a dud by then. The Kell Brook fight wasn't nothing. He had already been destroyed by Triple G, and then Errol Spence took a soul, and Terence Crawford basically sent him into retirement, even though he's still fighting. And I'm a Kell Brook fan. I like Kell Brook, but he didn't belong in the ring with Terence Crawford when they fought. He was already done. He was already done. And I mean, I think he has enough to beat Amir Khan, but both of these are done fighters. Neither one of these fighters can compete with the elite of today. And Manny Pacquiao would have knocked both of them senseless. So that those two fights were worthless. Those two fights were worthless. The Sean Porter fight was worthless because Porter was off for almost over a year. He's been off doing the Porter Way podcast, making pocketfuls of YouTube money. So he didn't care about that fight. He just wanted another bag of money. You saw the way he was pounding on. He didn't care about that fight. It was dramatic and everything. Well, hey, whatever. Okay, that fight was garbage. It wasn't really worth nothing. You had the Mean Machine fight. That was a good fight. Okay, I give you that one. That was a good fight. And then you had who was the last one? I think it was Benavidez, and then the Benavidez fight was a good one. That was a good. So out of you had two good fights out of those 5 fights in less than 4 years that you got paid $22 million. I mean, you should have just let it go, bro. As soon as you was out of that contract, you said, "I'm out of the Bob Arum business. Don't ask me no questions about Bob Arum. I don't care about Bob Arum. I made enough money over there. I don't. You know what? I'm not dealing with that. That's why I feel like it was a stall tactic by Crawford. I feel like it was because he has nowhere else to sign at the moment, and there's nowhere for him to go make a fight unless he goes back and deals with Bob Arum for that Josh Taylor fight, or signs with PBC, or takes a lower cut with somebody else. And this is, I think, why he's so, like I said in the last live, he might be a little bitter because he knows he has bad options. He has options, but they're all bad options. And he knows, probably his best option, and he can't even really take his best option now because of what he's doing, is to go back with Bob Arum because of the amount of money he was making over there. PBC is not going to pay you that guaranteed $5 million, $6 million you was getting. Oscar's not giving you that $5-6 million that you was getting. The Zone they don't want to deal with that type of money. Bob Arum, he was paying you that because he had no other elite welterweights, so he could pay you that type of money. But if you go back to Top Rank, then you stuck back on Top Rank Island again, and you really have nothing. You have nowhere to go, and you're gonna have to deal with those weird negotiations. And Bob Arum, handling your negotiation. Now, I mean, there is Mayweather out there. I think some people brought up signing with Mayweather, and I think it will work. But is Mayweather gonna sign you? He's gonna give you your $5 million guaranteed. Can he afford to give you $5 million guaranteed? And pay Gervonta Davis $1 million per fight. That's $6 million. Even though I think he would make money, and he's a master promoter, so he would find ways to make money off. I think it would be in both of their best interest to have him sign, because one thing that he could do is Mayweather could do exhibitions on the undercard and have Terence Crawford as the main event of those cards, and maybe even Gervonta Davis on those cards too. So you got a triple threat card if he can swing that $5 million per fight, and it is what it is. And I think it's possible for Mayweather to do that, but would he be willing to? He's a greedy guy. He likes money. So is he willing to even fathom that? Is he willing to even say, "Hey, I'll take a less on the front end to make more on the back end"? Because he would make money on the back end off of that. He wouldn't really be making anything off the front end, but he would be getting a lot of free publicity, a lot of free promotion for his other fighters, whatever other fighters. Like he can build some serious cards off of it and sell some serious pay-per-views with those 3 names: Gervonta Davis, Mayweather, and Crawford. He could start probably competing. It would take him a couple years, but he could start competing with his other company, PBC. So you will have to see how that all plays out. That was one other thing I wanted to. So one of my subscribers, they sent me something. an email. I just wanted to read the email they sent to me. Alrighty. So it reads, good evening. This is from Maximus. My boy Maximus, he sent me this. He was like, good evening, my brother. My apology for the late reply, but needed a little time to think this out. This is Maximus, one of your subscribers. You asked me for my opinion on how I feel and think about what the boxing industry has become. So I'd asked him, okay, what'd you say, Ryan Lamb says Mayweather wants to fight the winner of Khan Brook. That's because he can beat both of those guys. You know, both of those guys, if he lands a good punch, I mean, either one of them might go to sleep. So I'm not surprised at that. Why don't he get Manny Pacquiao his rematch? Why don't he get Pacquiao his rematch? That would be a good fight. I think that's a good fight. But I was asking, what do people think about the state of boxing? So he was answering that question. I asked him to send me his thoughts, and he sent me his thoughts. So anybody else who wants to send me their thoughts or video, audio, or anything, send it to me. I'll put it in the show. I'll read it or whatever. In deep thought, the boxing industry and its viewers, trolls included, is a reflection of today's society, caused mainly by the downfall of our shady governments, big tech, and far left Hollywood crats. Hollycrats, let's call them, so we don't get dinged by YouTube. Propagating racial divide. I guess he meant a racial divide and influencing the younger generation to act out in ridiculous ways. So, in layman's terms, the boxing industry is now a circus. Uh, boxers out boxers out for themselves. Promotional companies being extra cautious on how they maneuver their clients in the boxing matches, in-house or outside their company. Promotional companies adding even more belts to their organization. And for what? No reason but to filter more money into their pockets. Crossover fights between boxers and MMA fighters, YouTubers, courtesy of Floyd Mayweather, TBE. But the most radical change in the boxing industry is the generations boxing community with the use of internet and insurgents of racially motivated channels and fanboys. Boxing has at times become toxic, and I made some videos about that myself. What was that? Has become toxic and has taken the joy out of simply watching a competitive fight between two pugilists like it was 30, 20 years ago. Someone lost your man up and someone lost you man up and everyone looks forward until the next fight. Instead, these days you have fanboys and trolls from each side, racially divided and motivated to take you out. Uh, you make a negative comment about their fighter. Nothing was a Nothing was better example than the Tyson versus Wilder trilogy. Wow, that was a racially divided mess. Ha ha, yes sir. The boxing game has changed. It's not about legacy and pride anymore. Bless Pacquiao for showing us the way. May he retire as the greatest today. Boxing is about image, likes, and followers and controversy. It is what it is, man. And you know what? I totally agree. And especially that last part. I think if I would get controversial with the titles and the descriptions and the subject matter, then I would have more viewers. People like that. People like the garbage, man. YouTube promotes the garbage, but I don't even want to go down that road because eventually, my channel will grow, and if I go down that road, then I'll grow with a subscriber base of people I don't even want to deal with. Because even when the Pacquiao stuff started blowing up, and then the haters started coming in and attacking the subscribers of mine. It just became real toxic and not, something I didn't want to deal with, which is why I backed out of it for a while because it was getting ugly and people were using words and calling each other names and none of these people even know each other. And using the N, the Filipinos using the N word and black people calling Filipinos crazy. And I'm like, man, I don't even want to be having to block hundreds of people for no reason. It's just goofy and it leads you down a road that I don't want to be on. And I decided to take a left. And I had let it go at the height. I was getting, it was a point I was getting 60,000 views, 70,000 views every 2 days. Every 2 days. And I was like, man, this is too much. This is too much. And I'm not a racist and I'm not against nobody, but I'm not going to deal with this amount. I'm getting 1,000 comments running through my phone every day. And some of it was just crazy, crazy stuff. It was to the point where I'm like, man, I'm not gonna be a part of this stuff. If this is where it's going, I don't want to be a part of it. So I just let it go for a while. And when I let it go the first time it came back, YouTube had changed. A lot of stuff had happened, and I had built it back up to where I was getting like 20 or 30,000 a day. I mean, every 2 days. And then I let it go again because it started getting toxic again. And then I came back again, around the Pacquiao Spence time, and YouTube had changed again. It completely changed, and all these new channels have popped up, and the game is like completely toxic now, and it's all about controversy and lying in your thumbnail and lying on your descriptions and lying in your titles. It's almost like the tabloids of boxing now. But at the same time, it's getting clicks. People are clicking on it. Thousands and thousands of people are clicking on this crap. The guy he was talking about involving that Tyson Fury situation. We all know who he is. We all know his name. We all know how racial he got with his rhetoric, and it wasn't just him. It's a whole coalition of channels out there that I don't even want to mention their names because I'm not giving no free promotion on my channel. But y'all know who they are, and y'all know what they represent, and it's garbage, man. At this point, it's garbage. So, black people have historically been treated horrible up until this point. So why are you treating other people, just boxing fans, the same way that you saying we've been treated all this time? I don't get it. I think that's you're not helping the situation. You're making it worse. You're not bringing uh you're not bringing all kinds of boxing fans to you. You're just bringing negative boxing fans to you. And their channels get what they get, and they get views, and people like it, and they got their subscribers. I can't hate them. Do what you do, but I'll never go down that road. If I gotta grow like that, because Manny Pacquiao's not walking through that door, man. Yeah, not that. He might. I hope he does, because he might bring my channel back after that. But I'm gonna keep rolling my channel until it takes off again. Manny Pacquiao took me off in one direction. Now I gotta go and find a new audience. But the audience I want is not the audience they have. So I'm not trying to go down those roads. The audience, and some of the people who subscribe to me, they like what those people do as well. But and I don't hate them for liking them. But like I told them in the past, man, you going down a negative road, and if you following that road, hey, eventually that's not going to be popular no more. And you alienated a lot of people with your rhetoric. So it's going to be hard for you to ever build a new audience if that audience ends up going away. So I try to walk a neutral line with everybody. I dislike fighters for their talents and their skill sets, not for their skin color. I dislike fighters for how they carry themselves, not because because they look like me. I don't really care about that. So I appreciate everybody who subscribes to my channel, man. Whatever color you are. Yeah, I'm hoping I got a few aliens out there watching me. I know I got some robots watching me because YouTube is filled with them. But definitely, let's hear from Terence Crawford real fast. And then I'll come back, see if I got any more comments. If not, I'll probably get off here for the day. So y'all check this out.
Nowadays, everybody in their daddy got the fire spit, key spit, what you fight fires with,
Yo, 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 yo. What's up? What's up? What's up? My little homies. I ain't got no charge. Man, I just gotta, get some facts straight out here, man. I hear, a couple of us always got my name in their mouth, putting out some false information.
The difficulty in making the fight with Terence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., and pretty much it was this. Terence Crawford is pretty much boxed in. We all know who the PBC is run by, Al Heyman, and I'm sure Floyd Mayweather Jr. as well.
What is you fans is gonna say? Oh, you beat a bum. you beat a nobody. This is my prize jewels. You see the face, June 9th, 2018. How many years? Whew. Locked. Since I was 7. Hey, so I'm sitting over here teaching my son how to make a basketball hoop with a net out of a hanger, a plastic bag from the stove. See, this is what we used to do when I was kids, when I was probably like 5 in the early 90s. We didn't have no basketball hoops, to play with, so we had to improvise. Get you a hanger, plastic bag, some tape, sock, ball it up, get you a door. Put that in there like that.
Alright, y'all. So I had put that video together just to show, man, Terence Crawford, I'm not a hater of Terence Crawford. I like his family man, his homeboys type of personality. I dig that about him. I do feel like his biggest flaw is that he kind of seems a little whiny sometimes. So I think sometimes he's unsellable because he seems a little whiny. Listen, and he always says, "I just want to fight the best fights." He always says, I want to fight Errol Spence, but he's not giving me my opportunity." But to be honest, you've had the fight paperwork twice, and you didn't sign off on it because of the 60-40. You had the Pacquiao fight paperwork twice. You didn't. These were the biggest fights you've been offered in your career, and you didn't take neither of the biggest fights that have been offered in your career. And I think the problem with nobody wanting to sign you is that it's almost like you're choosing to take the road, the easier road. I know we heard Errol Spence say, "Why take this road when I can take the easy road?" But it's almost like Terence Crawford's really the one walking that road. He's the one who accepted what Bob Arum offered him. He didn't fight Bob Arum on anything. He was happy to get those $4, $5, $6 million paydays. It almost seems like he was content with that. And I think other promotional companies see that. I think they saw that, so they feel like, okay, if I sign Crawford and I get an offer that he's not gonna like, then am I gonna be stuck making an in-house fight with him to where I have to pay him $4 or $5 or $6 million, and I know I'm not going to recover my money. I know it's impossible because Bob Arum had him for almost 5 years, and didn't recover his money off of one fight. And they were all high level name versus high level name fight, but none of them sold. So I think, he's making himself kind of look bad by not accepting the high level fights that he was offered. Because and for you to turn around and turn on your promotional company like a savage pit bull and lock on them and then sue them when it was Bob Arum. Now that could have been Bob Arum covering his tail, but it was Bob Arum after he beat Kell Brook, who said Terence Crawford would beat every welterweight in one night. Now, if that's not your promoter backing you and building you up and hyping you up, I don't know what is. I've never heard any promoter say anything that crazy since Ali or Tyson. And even Terence Crawford, go look at that video. Terence Crawford looked at him like, what? He even had to say, like, what? Like, what are you talking about? I'm good, but I think in his mind he realized, like, you know what? Maybe this guy has been building me up all this time. Maybe I am a hype job. And and I think, now I think Bob Arum has to kind of expose himself for building fighters up a certain way and maybe building up hype jobs from the amount of money he's been paying him for these garbage fights. It kind of proves like, okay, he's just putting them in fights to where he's not really going to get, he can't really get, it's going to be hard for him to lose. And they're high profile fights, but they're hard for him to lose. But you're paying this guy like $6 million, $7 million a fight, and nobody's buying it. So it's like he exposed himself. It's not like Bob Arum did anything to him. Bob Arum was in desperate need of Terence Crawford being a superstar. Mr. Transfer with BRA, what's good with you, bro? What's good? Ain't seen you in a while. What's good, brother? Appreciate you, man. Hit that like button for me. But Bob Arum needed Crawford to be a superstar. Bob Arum didn't need a dud. He lost Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? Lomachenko got beat. You know what I'm saying? His talent was leaving. His pay-per-views stopped selling after Pacquiao left. His events on ESPN wasn't doing very well. So he needed for Terence Crawford to be a superstar. He didn't need for Terence Crawford to be a dud on pay-per-view. And nobody listen, it's hard to point a finger at exactly why Terence Crawford ended up being a pay-per-view dud. And I think I can put my finger on it. Because if he would have took that Pacquiao fight when he was supposed to take that Pacquiao fight, when Bob Arum, I believe, offered it to him before the Horn situation, because he wanted it to be Crawford beating Pacquiao for that title. He didn't want to have to go to Australia and cheat Pacquiao by elevating Jeff Horn, because what he ended up having to do is prop up Horn for 4 or 5 months so he could feed him to Crawford. So he didn't want to have to do that. He didn't want to have to lose Pacquiao. But he did. Okay, but so so instead of Crawford accepting that fight, which Bob Arum himself said, okay, I felt like it was a bad, but he did offer that fight to him. And from what I heard, Terence Crawford turned it down. His team turned it down. But Arum said he was going to offer it to him at 140 at one point and never offered it to him because his matchmakers felt like Pacquiao was too much for him. And then when he moved up to 147, he was going to offer it to him. But at that point, it was almost too late. It was almost too late at that point. So, because Pacquiao was on his way out. So he had to set Pacquiao up to get that title. Because listen to me, at this point, look, if Pacquiao would have beat Jeff Horn, Terence Crawford would be a nobody. Why does nobody ever talk about that? How many boxing channels say that? if Pacquiao beat Jeff Horn, would have never got robbed, Terence Crawford would still be a nobody. He would have had nobody to fight over it, and they would have faced him up with Jeff Horn, and he'd have beat Jeff Horn, and nobody would have cared because there would have been no title on the line. Because he had nobody else in Top Rank to face him up with after Pacquiao left anyway. So I think this is what people are forgetting. This is why he don't sell on pay-per-view. It's because he was a nobody who got given a title. To be honest with you, he's a talented fighter, likable guy. I like his personality, likable guy. But if Pacquiao didn't get robbed, you would still be a nobody. You would still be a nobody. And if Pacquiao didn't get robbed, he would have left and would have been able to continue with Pacquiao Promotions like he did as a champion. And that would have drove him through the roof. Just think of where his career would have been if they didn't rob him when they robbed him when he left Top Rank. You know, because he would have left with a championship. He had to leave with his pride in a bag and try to go rebuild something, which he did because he came back. He beat Lucas Matisse, and then he beat Jesse Vargas. No, he beat Jesse Vargas, then he beat Lucas Matisse, and then he moved on to PBC. But what would have happened if he would have left with that title? You know, I think Pacquiao Promotion would be even bigger right now if he would have left with that title. That's not, you know, so, and Terence Crawford, he would have been completely, assed out. Because there would be no more titles over. Now, I don't think he would have signed that extension. I don't even think he would have stayed at Top Rank. If that was the case, there would have been no need for him to be at Top Rank. Because what would have ultimately happened to me, would have been Pacquiao would have either stayed independent with Pacquiao Promotions because he would have been a champion and he would have had more fights being offered to him because he was a champion. So he wouldn't have needed to go sign with PBC. But when he left and got stripped of that title, and then he beat Lucas Matisse, it was just in his best interest at that time to go sign with PBC. He had to rebuild something, and it was too hard for him to make fights. But if he would have left with that WBO belt, it wouldn't have been hard for him to make fights with Pacquiao Promotions. So, Terence Crawford got to understand. And Terence Crawford fans have to start telling themselves the truth. Hold on for a second. All right, my bad. I had to hook up the other lab. It's about to die on me. But Terence Crawford fans have to start telling themselves the truth, man. And that's that. The truth is, Bob Arum made you a champion. Bob Arum made you a millionaire, and he didn't have to. He could have rolled with Jeff Horn. He had a whole country. Jeff Horn had a whole country. Bob Arum could have took his money and put it behind Jeff Horn, the same way that people are putting their money behind George Kambosos now. But he didn't. He set it up to where Terence Crawford, his golden goose, will become champion off of Horn, off the back of what they just did to Pacquiao. So, I mean, that's for all Terence Crawford fans. Remember how your boy became a champion. Never forget how he became a champion. Every time you're arguing with somebody about a 60-40 split, or you want to say that Errol Spence ain't a real champion, how did Terence Crawford become champion? And break it all the way down. Don't leave nothing out. Because when you leave stuff out, then you're trying to paint a narrative that fits your argument. And it ain't true. Because the bottom line truth is Terence Crawford wasn't sellable before, when he was at 140. He wasn't selling no pay-per-views. And he was the unified champion. He wasn't selling pay-per-views at 140 as the unified champion. Then he moved up and got and basically got handed a gift. You could have been selling pay-per-views if you would have took that Pacquiao fight. Even when Bob Arum said, you know what, my matchmakers think it's too much, you should have been like, to hell with that. I want that fight. I need that fight. Make that fight. That's all I want. I'm not taking nothing else but that fight, because that would have elevated your pay-per-view numbers 3 or 4 years ago. It would have shot your pay-per-view numbers all the way through the roof off the back of Pacquiao. And if you that good, not only that, you would be your Danius Ugas right now. You would be the guy who beat Manny Pacquiao. But you just Terence Crawford at this point. You haven't beat nobody. The names you have beat were all past their prime, except for Mean Machine and Benavidez. Those are your 2 prime names. You beat Kine, past his prime. You beat Brook, past his prime. You beat Porter, past his prime. You turned down the Pacquiao fight twice. You turned down the Spence fight twice. I mean, it paints an ugly picture about you, just to be honest. And then you got the fact that, you know, they had to rob Manny Pacquiao through Jeff Horn to make you a champion. So, I mean, and they paid you $20-something million to keep your mouth shut. I mean, he got to be loopy. Do you think they was paying him all that money because he's that good? Or you think they was paying him all that money because he knew what was going on behind the scenes? That was shut your mouth up money. Don't talk about none of the Pacquiao stuff. He don't never talk about Pacquiao. But y'all was on the same promotional company at the same time in the same weight division, but he don't never talk about Pacquiao. And I wonder why. He'll never bring up, oh, I could have, you know, if Bob Arum would have just matched me up with Pacquiao, then I wouldn't be in this mess. And hey, I'm just saying, I told the line, I'm not an Errol Spence fan or a Terence Crawford fan. I'm just calling it how it is. And it's disrespectful, really, to Errol Spence for people to be saying he didn't earn his championship. They didn't walk him down no path to get them belts. He had to go to Britain and get that belt from Kell Brook. Even though I will say Brook was damaged at that point from the Triple G situation, but he did have to go over and get that belt. And he got it up off him. He did have to fight Sean Porter in his prime, and he got it up off him. So his role, even though still not as difficult as a Mayweather or a Pacquiao or a Margarito or a Marquez or the endless amount of last generation fighters who really earned their spot, the De La Hoyas and all them, you know, these guys, you know, now Spence to a lesser extent, but Terence Crawford, definitely, you got put in your position and you should have been happy with the position they put you in. And 60-40 with $4 million guarantee, and the fact that you got made a champion off the back of Pacquiao, you should have ran with that fight if you think you that good. If you think you're that good and you know you can beat Spence, any normal thinking human being would have ran with that opportunity a long time ago. Because, I mean, you're going to make some serious money off of that fight. 60-40 with a $4 million guarantee from Arum. So, hey, anybody wants to argue that with you that Errol Spence ducked anybody or that Terence Crawford ducked, send them to this video and let them hear the truth. They probably gonna click straight off of it like most people do. People don't like the truth. That's why my channel don't it ain't growing. I gotta start lying to y'all more. And y'all start sticking around and liking me more. You know, if I lied more about Terence Crawford and I just, you know, played the game, then I probably get more views and more people will click and stick around and people will like me and pat me on the back a little bit more. But I'm gonna call it how it is. You know, I like both guys. I like Spence for certain stuff. I like Crawford for certain stuff. And I'm gonna tell it how it is. Errol Spence definitely earned his belts. Now you can argue that Kell Brook victory, that Brook was beat up because of the Triple G fight. But there's no argument with the Sean Porter victory. He got Sean Porter exactly when he was supposed to get Sean Porter in the prime, and he beat him as a champion. So there's nobody else that you can point on Terence Crawford's resume that is a better fight than that Sean Porter in his prime fight for Errol Spence. So, he gets a one-up over Crawford to me. And then the fact that PBC didn't hand Errol Spence the title the way Top Rank kind of, bullied the title out of Pacquiao through Horn, and then kind of handed Horn to Crawford. And everybody knows Horn doesn't match up to Crawford. He didn't match up to Pacquiao. They had to take Pacquiao to Australia and make all the odds against him and make it almost like a Mayweather fight to get the belt away from him. So, hey, let's just keep it real, keep it obvious, tell it how it is. Pacquiao would most likely, if they didn't rob if they didn't rob Manny Pacquiao, Terence Crawford would not be a champion right now. And you can say what you want to say. If they didn't rob Manny Pacquiao, Terence Crawford would not even be a champion right now. He would still be a journeyman. He would be a Keith Thurman of the world, just undefeated. So I mean, people gotta call it like it is. And if they didn't rob Manny Pacquiao, what would his career be at this point? That's some moves he could have made if he would have been able to get away from Top Rank with that belt that he couldn't make when he left because of the way he left Top Rank with that Jeff Horn defeat. That Jeff Horn defeat, it snowballed the rest of Pacquiao's career downhill. Even though he made a nice comeback and got some real good legitimate wins in there, if he would have left with that belt, there's no telling. He might have actually got an Errol Spence fight, a mandatory Spence fight next. And that's crazy. And it would have been a unification fight. Now, or he could have signed that Keith Thurman fight. Actually, I think the Thurman fight would have been the mandatory fight at that time for the WBO. That he could have petitioned for, because he would have been a champion, and Thurman was the super champion of the WBA. So he could have petitioned for a Thurman fight as soon as he left Top Rank. Well, because they took that belt from him. He didn't have those opportunities. He could have went and fought Keith Thurman as an underdog and probably got robbed at that moment, even though he ended up fighting Thurman later on. But if he would have just left Top Rank and immediately tried to go face up with Thurman, I think he would have got robbed at that point. It would have just been them building their name off of Pacquiao like they did with the Ugas fight. And they eventually did Pacquiao the same way Top Rank did him. They promised him a bunch of stuff, got him to sign off on fights he shouldn't have took, and ultimately got the belt away from him without giving him the super high dollar fight that he deserved when he walked in the door, which was the Errol Spence fight. He should have never took the Broner fight. He should have never took the Thurman fight. He should have never took the Ugas fight. Manny Pacquiao was a bigger superstar than all of them, was outselling all of them still put together. Still, when he walked in the door, what was he doing fighting these guys? He had no business fighting Adrian Broner. He had no business fighting Keith Thurman. He had no business fighting Jordanius, definitely not the Jordanius Ugas. He should have, his first fight at PBC, they should have matched him up with Errol Spence. And it would have win or lose, it would have blew Errol Spence's numbers through the roof. But they tried to use Pacquiao. We're going to make all these in-house fights. Let's wear this guy out. And we don't never have to risk Errol Spence. We don't never have to match Pacquiao with Spence and risk Pacquiao knocking this dude through the ropes, which he probably would have did. If they would have matched him up with Spence instead of Thurman, it would have been Spence getting beat around the ring. So, let's call it how it is. Let's call it what it, and this is for all the people who think I'm just some Terence Crawford fan who want to beat Terence Crawford over the head because of the silly mistakes he made. No, I mean, they protected Spence from Pacquiao as well because he was a threat. Pacquiao's an F. When you put somebody in with Pacquiao, it was more of like at that time like a 70-30 shot. He was gonna beat the crap out of. So they didn't want to risk Errol Spence when he first walked in the door, which is who they should have been matching him up with. He shouldn't have been fighting them lower class guys. He should have had one fight there, and then walked out the door. Why? And the only my only logic for him staying around PBC for so long was that they promised him the same way that Terence Crawford is trying to say that Bob Arum promised him a Spence fight, which he can't promise you a Spence fight. He don't run PBC. No, and that's gonna kill that right there. That whole lawsuit thing is he can't promise you a Errol Spence fight. He can promise you a negotiation, and I'm pretty sure even if that was in the contract, I'm pretty sure even if that was in the contract, that Bob Arum had some underlying small stipulation that can't nobody see but a lawyer with a magnifying glass, and they're saying that your pay-per-view numbers got to hit some standard, and then we'll offer you that fight. So this is why I said, Terence Crawford's going down a sticky road because he don't know what's in them contracts. And when they start opening them contracts and letting the public see, it's making you look even worse. It's making you look even worse. But that's not just to beat Terence Crawford over the head. Like I said, they protected Spence from Pacquiao. Plain and simple. I'm pretty sure Pacquiao he only went over there because they probably promised him a Floyd Mayweather fight. Listen, we'll try our best to make that Mayweather rematch, but sign a 3-fight deal with us, and we'll try to match you up with Errol Spence down the line. And I bet Pacquiao's lawyer came back to him like, they promising us a Spence and a Mayweather fight. We gotta sign it. There's boatloads of money in this. But behind the scenes, they gonna match you up with Adrian Broner and Keith Thurman and guys. And look how it ended for Pacquiao. Go watch my past videos, especially the one where I said probably like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, or the name of it is PBC setting up Pacquiao. It's PBC Boxing setting up Pacquiao. It's got all the PBC fighters in the thumbnail going across the front. It's right when he signed with PBC. Go watch that video. See what I was saying back then. So, this ain't something new that I just made up. I felt like this for a while. Like, they do it a lot. They build fighters. They use Pacquiao to build their fighters up. They thought, but the one bad thing, I think the one thing that they didn't figure was I don't think they expected him to beat Keith Thurman. I think they thought he would beat Broner. Okay, the Broner fight, Broner's messing up anyway. But he was still famous at the time. The fight still sold. It still did well. But I don't think they was thinking he was going to beat Broner. I think that they was going to match him up with Broner. They thought they were going to match him up with Broner. Not Broner, but Thurman. They were going to match him up with Thurman. Thurman was going to beat him, and they were going to build Thurman's name off of Pacquiao, and then they would be done with Pacquiao at that point. I don't think anywhere in their mind were they thinking Pacquiao's going to come in there and plant this dude on his butt in the first round with like the third or fourth punch. I don't think nowhere in the playbook did they see that. But that's exactly what happened. He walked in there, put him on his butt. And at that point, they were saying, I'm pretty sure, because they knew, man, we didn't already promise this guy his next fight's going to be Errol Spence. What now? Luckily for them, everything hit with the world, and Pacquiao, everybody had to go and retreat for like a year. So they got a year to put that fight off. And in the meantime, they ended up stripping him of his belt. So they're like, we got a 2-for-1 off of this crap. We got the belt back, and we didn't have to face him up with nobody. but he's still under contract for that fight. Oh yeah, he is still under contract for that fight. So what did they do? They offered Terence Crawford the fight. Because remember, they offered it to Crawford at first, and Pacquiao was still on PBC. So it was PBC offering Terence Crawford that fight. Everybody forgot about that, though, huh? It wasn't Manny Pac, because he was still signed with PBC. It was PBC who offered Crawford that fight. Remember when they had the Dubai backers and all the money and everything? They offered it, and he turned that down. Now, I know they was like, man, he turned it down. We could have killed two birds with one stone right there. They could have got rid of Pacquiao's contract, and they could have potentially gave Terence Crawford a loss. But I think, that's why Crawford turned it down. He knew, like, oh man, they're trying to get me. So he turned it down. Let Spence take that. So they had to then match him up with Spence. They had no choice. Oh, well, and then the rabbit came in. This is why people keep wondering why I'm saying that eye injury ain't what that eye injury really. It didn't just come out of nowhere. I'm pretty sure if dude's eye was messed up for real, it was messed up after that accident. He already knew about it. But it was just the perfect timing for them to yank that rabbit up out the hat. Because we definitely don't want to put this dude in there with Pac. You see the way you see that training footage, because it was as soon as the training footage came out. It was as soon as the training footage, and they saw how good Pacquiao was looking, and what people were saying in the comments about how Spence looked like Frankenstein and moving, and pulled the rabbit out the hat. The eye injury got him up out of there. Enter Ugas. And Ugas did what he was supposed to do. And now they don't got to worry about Pac. Now, no more Pacquiao. And if I was Crawford, I'd be very careful. I'd be very careful because nobody's really with you at this point, except for your fans. You really should just stay independent and start your own promotional company. You got a belt, so you can make fighters come to you, and you can set everything up in your favor. I wouldn't, if I was him, actually go sign that Errol Spence fight. Because I'm telling you, they're going to Pacquiao your ass. They're going to Pacquiao they need them. The goal is strap season. They don't really need Terence Crawford. He's not marketable. He's a liability at this point. He commands too much money. They got that super champion, Errol Spence. They got their superstar name. So if he goes over and signs, believe me, he's not leaving with that belt at all. They're gonna turn him into a journeyman. They're gonna get him. They're gonna get the belt up off of him, turn him into a journeyman, and have him fighting the Thurmans and the other guys of the world. Spence is gonna be the unified champion, and he's gonna move up in weight. Boom. That's how it's gonna play out. But the only thing about that is, and it might benefit him to sign and even lose. Because even if let's say he signed and then he lost to Spence, Spence becomes a unified champion. Spence ain't gonna stay at 147 no longer. He might give Crawford a rematch, and he's gonna be gone to 154. So he's gonna end up dropping them belts anyway, especially if he has success at 154. So if Terence Crawford is still there, I mean, there's a chance for him just to pick all those belts right back up anyway. He just would have lost to Spence. So I mean, if he wants to drag this thing out, just stay independent. Don't sign to nobody because you can't go back to Bob at this point. You done messed that up. And he definitely ain't going to give you the type of money that you wanted now, even if you do try to make a Josh Taylor fight with him. You go over to PBC, boy, you're gonna get screwed at your belt. You go with Mayweather, he's a pretty shady character himself. But I think you can have a chance of making something if you can put the right team of people around you to protect you. But he wasn't able to do that with Bob Arum. I think if he goes with Oscar, it's kind of like a safe. a safe zone because Oscar stands to gain more than he stands to lose off of Crawford by feed, because he could, if he just goes and feeds him to like Virgil Ortiz or something, like he don't make a lot of money off that, but he can make a few in-house fights off of Crawford and make some real money. So I think he would stand to gain more than to lose if he invested in Crawford. The same thing with the zone. Only problem is the zone don't really have no credible welterweights at this point. So it would just be the zone negotiating for him. So what percentage would they make off? Would that be enough to carry his 5%? His 4.5 guaranteed money every fight. Where they just promote. They're just promoting you, and they can't even make no fights with you. It's a lot of questions, a lot of question marks for Crawford at this point. He has options, they're just not good options. And I don't know what else to say at this point. See, Quentin Bradley, he can't promote himself because he's gonna put up his own. He can't promote himself because he's gonna put up his own money. What you mean by that? I mean, that's what you got to do when you're promoting yourself. If you don't got a promoter, you putting up your own money. The thing about it is, let's say he promoted one of his own fights. Let's say he matched up with like a Boots Ennis, which is a great fight, a hard fight. I actually think Boots would beat him. But let's say he set up a Boots fight. It might, he's made $22 million. He's got to at least have 10 to 15 put up somewhere, or he's crazy. So he could take 5 of that, start a promotional company. Take $2 million of that. Pay Boots $500,000, $600,000, which would probably be his biggest payday ever. Pay $300,000-$400,000 for a venue in Kansas. Where's he from? Nebraska, wherever he's from. And $100,000 for the insurance for the venue, and he would make all that back. Get some. Take another $100,000. Pay some rappers, some local rappers to get on it and promote it. Pay another 50 for another big name rapper to get on the ticket. Maybe another 100 for a couple of other undercards, couple small undercards, and put your own show on. That ain't nothing but $2 million. And he would make all that back off of Boots Ennis fight. It would definitely do 200,000 pay-per-view buys. It would sell out a venue in Nebraska, 20,000, 20. He would bring in like 15, 20 million off of that. So he invests too, but he'll probably make like 15 to 20 million off of that back. So I mean, is he willing? Mayweather is the king of that. He coined that. This is what Jake Paul is doing. This is how he's making so much money. The thing about Jake Paul is he was able to flip his YouTube audience into pay-per-view buys. So I mean, the fact that he was selling so much merch isn't surprising, because if you're able to sell merch at that rate, of course, then people will buy anything from you. All you got to do is put the product out there. So I mean, it's on. That's why I keep saying that these guys they need new ways of promoting themselves. They got to learn how to use what they have at their own disposal. Bob Arum at Top Rank was his endless money pit. He should have been using that to promote himself. He should have had a YouTube channel. He should have been doing all this other stuff on the back end. None of these fighters were really promoting themselves correctly. None of these fighters. Floyd Mayweather was in your face every day. This is why he was so popular. He was on everybody's channel. He was talking mess about everybody. Adrian Broner rode the social media wave. He created that whole wave, really. Like his social media was popping. So they set the blueprint out there for you. The blueprint been out there for you. It's just he didn't pick up on it, I guess. Spence picked up on it, and Spence has Mayweather backing him, and Mayweather's in the money business. He's not going to lose money on Spence. Bob Arum don't care. Bob Arum got endless money for life until the day he's up out of here. and his kids got Top Rank's gonna be around forever, forever. It's gonna be a staple in boxing forever. So he can always just go to the next big name in boxing. These guys like Terence Crawford who think that they're so great and they're so good, gotta remember every year it's just like women. Every year is another hot chick. Every next month it's gonna be another hot chick. It's gonna be another hot boxer next year, and that's how Bob Arum feels. He's a businessman in this sport. I don't need Crawford. Boots Ennis is actually a better investment. That might be what he's thinking. That's why I was trying to get at earlier when I was talking about when I started rambling about the lawsuit. Is that at the end of the day, he's cleared his books $6 million. He can get Boots for probably $2. He can probably get Boots for $2 and get Virgil Ortiz for $2 or $3, $2.5. Get both of them for $2.5. That's the $5 million right there that he was paying Terence Crawford, and now he could possibly have Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz for the same thing he was paying Terence Crawford, and blow both of them fighters up. And I'm telling you, Boots, he's making this. He's one of them guys. He's got one of them personalities. He's a hood dude, so he can get on social media and make a wave, just like just like Adrian Broner did, because the hood's gonna follow him. He's a hood dude, so he can build a big wave off of that. Same thing. Virgil Ortiz come with a built-in fan base. He just needs the promotion and the money. So, Terence Crawford is one of them type of guys who thinks the world stops at his talent, and it don't. It's always going to be another hot. Tomorrow is always going to be somebody who's just as good as you or better. So you better get the getting while the getting is good. You passed up 4 potential super fights. Pacquiao twice and Spence twice. And you 35. That was almost your whole career. You done threw pretty much all your whole career out the window. Quentin Bradley, Boots is off the table now. They just announced that Boots fights a undefeated Canadian fighter. I mean, he might be off the table for Crawford, but that don't mean he's off the table for Bob Arum to try to sign him. And you best believe if Boots is as good as he is, somebody's going to be after him with a contract within the next year. And I think Boots is the truth. And the only thing he's missing is somebody. It's not going to take much for Boots to get drawn into a contract with a promotional company. If they start offering him $2-3 million, of course he'd be stupid not to sign. Just ain't nobody offered him that type of money yet. I'm pretty sure he hasn't had that type of offer yet. But Bob Arum has that type of money to play with now that he don't have to pay Crawford $5 million no more. So I think he might be trying to reposition himself in the welterweight game. And the way he does that is clear as books. I think that's why he was happy with a clear split from Terence Crawford. He didn't care. He's like, man, I done lost enough money on this guy. I can let him go, and I can go get me another guy. And I'm pretty sure Boots or Virgil Ortiz is who he's looking at. And I can just go target one of these other 2 guys. I can get them for half of what I was paying him. I might be able to get both of them for what I was paying him. So, look out for that. There's always that on the table. Bob Arum ain't stupid at this, man. Bob Arum know what he's doing. Even if he loses that little $10 million, he don't care. You think he cares? This man is worth umpteen millions. Endless amounts of money. He can. What Terence Crawford is actually asking him for, he can probably write that off every year in his taxes. So this is why none of this stuff is all nonchalant to him. Just the same way, what Terence Crawford is doing is kind of nonchalant to Errol Spence. He don't really care because he knows he got fights that he can just make in-house at PBC. He got the belt, so he got the negotiating power. He can just sit back and it's on cruise control. Only one keep shooting themselves in the foot is Terence Crawford. And I'm just keeping it real. Just keeping it real. It's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out, man. I've been rambling for a whiz out now. Okay, we got 8 people in here. Can I get to 10 likes before I get out of here? Can I get to 10 likes? I'm gonna go ahead and play this video one more time for anybody who hasn't seen it. This is just a montage of what's going on with Terence Crawford at the moment. Check this out.
Nowadays, everybody in their daddy got the fire spit, key spit, what you fight fires with,
Yo, 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 yo. What's up? What's up? What's up? My little homies. I ain't got no charge. Man, I just gotta, get some facts straight out here, man. I hear, a couple of us always got my name in their mouth, putting out some false information.
The difficulty in making the fight with Terence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr., and pretty much it was this. Terence Crawford is pretty much boxed in. We all know who the PBC is run by, Al Heyman, and I'm sure Floyd Mayweather Jr. as well.
What is you fans is gonna say? Oh, you beat a bum. you beat a nobody. This is my prize jewels. You see the face, June 9th, 2018. How many years? Whew. Lot. Since I was 7. Hey, so I'm sitting over here teaching my son how to make a basketball hoop with a net out of a hanger, a plastic bag from the stove. See, this is what we used to do when I was kids, when I was probably like 5 in the early 90s. We didn't have no basketball hoops, to play with, so we had to improvise. Get you a hanger, plastic bag, some tape, sock, ball it up, get you a door. Put that in there like that.
Man, y'all can't tell me if Terence Crawford had a YouTube channel, y'all wouldn't tune in, man. The dude, when you see him just in his normal setting, when he just being a normal hood dude, he a likable guy, man. He's definitely a likable guy, and I don't think he's not a talented boxer. I just think there are a lot of question marks about his career, and he don't put himself in the right position to answer those question marks. And when he do the things he does point at as answers to the question marks are even more questions. Why would you fight Sean Porter and not go after Ugas? Ugas was a champion. You could have had leverage with that win. Why would you fight, Kell Brook when you know he's a damaged fighter? Why would you fight Khan when you know he was a damaged fighter? Why wouldn't you accept the Spence or the Pacquiao fight? Why would you turn that down twice? There's too many question marks about Crawford. And even though he is a very likable guy, and I think it would fit him well to be on YouTube and build his audience up more on YouTube just by showing his personality and his training techniques and what he does bring to the table as a fighter. Doing things like calling out racism and lawsuits ain't helping you. It ain't building your audience. It ain't helping you, man. It's just making you look worse. And Bob Arum's not in the business of losing money, and he plays dirty with people, man. So salute Terence Crawford, salute Spence, salute every boxing fan out there, salute all y'all, and salute everybody who came through, man, and checked out the live today, man. I'll definitely be back on here tomorrow, hopefully. Be back on here tomorrow. We can chop it up again. Anybody wants to call in, the number is on the screen. And I got that number on the screen so y'all can call in and y'all can chop it up live with me. It is a Google Voice number, so if you don't want to give out your real number, just get a text now number, a Google Voice number, and you can holler at your boy. Hit that like button for me, man. If you ain't hit that like button, subscribe. If you ain't subscribed, tell a friend, anybody you can, trying to expand this as far as I can get it. Till tomorrow, y'all. Appreciate y'all, man. Y'all stay safe, man. Yeah, out of here.
All that seems to be on my mind is All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. I just wanna touch a onion. She just want a couple hundred. I got mad and changed the subject. Then I got drunk and said fuck it. This is for my hustling niggas. This is for my hustling bitches. Pull up with that Aquafina. Yellow bone, her name is Tina. Tina like the hit casinos. Tina could snort a whole kilo. Tina like to fight and argue. Bye bye Tina, bitch, who are you? Met a dark skin chick named Anna. Anna like that marijuana. Anna was from the Bahamas. At least that's what she said, I assume she's honest. I apologize, Your Honor. I just wanted me some money. You can't tell these niggas frontin'. You can't tell these niggas nothing. 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 All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. All that seems to be on my mind is hustling. This is for my hustling niggas. This is for my hustling niggas. This is for my hustling bitches. This is for my hustling bitches. Nigga, don't act so suspicious. Hustle hot as hell, but you swear they snitching. You don't wanna go to prison. You don't wanna go to prison. You don't wanna come up missing. You don't wanna come up missing. I just want a couple bitches. Put them in the ring, make a split decision. I'm trying to slow down with the sinning. I pray to God, no, he'll forgive me. Me and God had a discussion. He said, tell him, I said, you can't tell these niggas.